Oh, man.
Hey, Old Man on the Mat crew. This is Tony Jones coming at you with another great episode of Old Man on the Mat. Guys, I'm fired up today. I say that every episode. I'm fired up every day. And like I always say, man, at our age or our experience level, man, if you're waking up, there's no dirt in your face today, you're doing all right. But guys, I'm very fired up about the guy I have coming on today. I'm sure you know who he is. I'm not going to get into everything now up front, but we're going to talk as we go through this. But he's the guy. He created the large Facebook group of Jiu-Jitsu over 40 for our perfect age group. He's the owner of the apparel company White Wolves Ground Apparel, which is awesome. He's a second-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on Team Alliance. He's also one of the instructors out there on Pinnacle Fight Team. He also holds black belts in different arts out there, which is really impressive, especially at our age. I'm sure his body hurts a lot. But with that, guys, I give you Chris Pike. What's going on, brother?
How you doing, bro?
Man,
great to be on. Great to be on. And I'm really I'm ecstatic to be here. Very cool.
Hey, thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man. I know you're a busy man out there with all the stuff you're doing. Man.
Oh, yeah, I got tons of stuff going on right now. Besides my page and my apparel company, I'm trying to finally launch my brand. So there's a lot involved. Me and my wife have just been nonstop with this. So yeah, and then I also I'm going to be competing in San Luis Obispo out here at the Arte Suave. It's going to be my first competition in 7 years, so I'm shaking off the rust.
Man, that's awesome, man. But you know what?
Yep.
It is like riding a bike, right? We jump back in there, and when panic hits, we go right to what we do best, man. That's awesome.
And it's also it's great just to find out where your gaps in your game are.
You know what? That's smart. That's very smart.
Yes.
Oh,
especially
man.
at the level of black, there's so many levels and facets to that belt. So you never know who you're quite dealing with. So a lot of times, you might not get the what you wanted out of it, but you will definitely learn something. That is a fact.
Absolutely. And I say every time you step on the mat, man, even if it's competition or just training, to step on the mat, man, that's huge. A lot of people don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't, man. Well, let me ask you this. Let's get this thing started because I love for people to know where everybody came from. How did you start? Or what was your, back in the day, what made you decide to get into martial arts? Was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu your first one? Because I know you have black belts in other arts. What was your first start?
Yeah. So did I send you the video of that little documentary?
Yeah. Okay. That was awesome.
All right. So that told a little bit about my story. So I'll let everybody know.
Yeah.
So I started doing martial arts at a very young age. Like with a lot of guys in our generation, I'm not sure how old you are, Tony, but I'm be 55 coming up real short.
We're at the same door, brother.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
like a lot of us, I started martial arts way back in the day. And of course, Bruce Lee was my idol.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us, right?
Yeah.
And so I started doing Taekwondo at a young age, and I loved it. And I think that's when I really fell in love with martial arts, is when I was very young. I was 12 or 13.
Okay.
And so I did that for some years, probably close to 6 or 7 years. I got my black belt. And I actually got my first degree of black belt in my Taekwondo. And I just felt like I needed more.
Okay.
I've always been one of those type of people, always just looking for more information. So after my Taekwondo, I started getting into a form of Kung Fu.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which was called Kang Kwon Do. And this is a really funny story. So I started doing this in my early 20s. This was 1994.
Oh, okay.
Can't even believe it. Can't even believe it's that long ago.
Oh,
and I had started training under a gentleman that is very well known in the martial arts community. He actually just passed a few years ago. And his name was Master Greg Woldridge.
Okay.
He actually was in the martial arts. Well, he is in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame. He was Manny Pacquiao's private bodyguard.
Oh, wow.
Oh, this guy was a legend. You know, he was hanging around all the guys like Gene LaBelle,
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah, he goes back. So once I started training with him, that's when the UFC um, came onto the scene.
Yeah.
And all of us back then that had any kind of martial arts training, you know, and as you know, were just totally fascinated by that.
Oh, yeah. Street fight in the ring kind of stuff was
Yes,
great.
and seeing jujitsu for the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just you know, like, what is this sorcery that we're seeing?
Right. Right. It was like, what? And of course, sitting on the sidelines, I had every answer for everything they were doing from sitting on the sideline. I'm like, yeah, right.
Right, right. So, you know, like a lot of us, we watched it, and then that night I was at his house, and after the fights, where he was like, I need to learn this stuff. So my sensei started going and seeking out jujitsu seminars because back then, and especially in SoCal, the only place you could really find it were the Gracies, and they were very, very secretive about their stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. In the beginning, they was, man, big time.
Yeah, big time. So people that were teaching it, you know, it was just very hard to find. And so that's basically when I started to learn grappling was 94.
Okay.
So, you know, we're talking quite a long time.
Yeah.
Um, so in 1996, my mother passed of brain cancer.
Wow.
And
Sorry, man.
yeah,
Wow.
so so here's the thing. I always struggled, and I think this will be a very good help to some of the people out there that might be struggling.
Yeah.
So I struggled with drug addiction for a very long time.
Gotcha.
And um, I started smoking marijuana at 12 years old, and then it progressed into other things. So by the time, you know, I was into my 20s, I was, you know, I always had martial arts in my life. And I
Right.
think that's what always corrected my behavior.
Okay.
Um, so it was always a great tool for me to help me, to get me back on track. So after about 10 years, 9 years, after a very bad addiction, um, I had moved in with a friend, and there happened to be a martial arts academy down the street from where I was living. Okay,
Okay.
this is 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was 35 years old, and so I walked into the martial arts academy, and even back then, 20 years ago, it was very hard to find a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy. A lot of the programs were inside karate studios.
Yeah. Yeah. Secondaries. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And that's where a lot of the Brazilian instructors learned how to teach.
Mm.
So when I walked into this place, it was a very old school dojo, right?
Yeah.
And the instructor, it, and this is another man that was very big in the martial arts community. I've had very extraordinary meetings in my life with certain martial arts. I mean,
Okay.
certain martial artists. I've met so many people and so many legends, and been blessed with training with so many
Wow.
legends.
Wow.
So I walked into this academy, and the gentleman's name was Stephen Kirkman. Now, this guy had been doing martial arts his whole life. He was in his 40s when I met him. And you ever heard of the Guardian Angels?
Oh yeah. All over New
Okay.
York and Bronx
Yes,
and all
yes,
that. Yeah.
yes. And then they had a LA chapter.
Yeah.
So my instructor, Stephen Kirkman, was the head of the LA chapter of the Guardian Angels.
Wow. Holy cow.
So this guy, I mean, he looked like your average dad,
Yeah.
right? The dad bod, you know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
totally unassuming. But he actually was in it.
Mm.
So on the streets, dealing with, gang members and drug dealers and all that type of stuff. So everything that he learned, right, in martial arts, he was able to utilize in the streets.
Yeah.
And just, which, we all want to be able to do. Right. So, I trained under him for about 7 years. Okay. And the jiu-jitsu instructor that was teaching the actual class was Brazilian. Okay. And his name was Heber Moreira. Now, this guy goes back to the Gracie garage days.
Oh, man.
So you can kind of get what I'm saying here. Like, I was just immersed into the culture because of the people I was surrounded.
Right.
I was learning from the people that were learning it straight from the Gracies.
Man.
And so my instructor got his black belt from Renato Magno, which is a black belt under Jean-Jacques Machado.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he has an academy in Santa Monica. He actually had one of the first academies in California. And David Mamet, that directed and wrote the movie Red Belt,
yes,
used to train there.
Oh, man.
So at this time, when all this was happening, this was when UFC was starting to, and Dana White had just started to get involved with it.
Yeah.
He was at the gym in Santa Monica every week watching guys in that.
Really?
Yes.
Holy cow.
Because we had guys in there like Higan Machado, Jean-Jacques Machado. I mean, all the brothers, right?
Yeah.
We had people around us like Kathy Long, the first woman American champion kickboxer. She was was also a commentator for UFC.
Yep.
So I've been just surrounded by all these really great mentors and really great people through my journey. I've just been so fortunate to be able to learn under some of these legends.
Man, no joke.
Yeah, right. So then when I walked into this place, like I had just gotten clean, right?
Yeah.
And I walked into this place and it just consumed me. Jiu-jitsu became my life.
Okay.
Early on when I was a white belt, I was only training because it was inside of a karate studio. I was only training twice a week because that's all that was offered.
Right.
But I was thirsting for more knowledge, right? Because it became that puzzle that I wanted to solve. But I knew, later on I realized it's the puzzle that you couldn't solve. It just was ongoing.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So shortly before I got my blue belt, I started traveling a little bit away from my house down south to Redondo Beach. And then I started training at Higan Machado's place in Artesia. Now, this was one of the first academies also in SoCal because it was close to the beach.
Okay.
And of course, all the Brazilians migrated to that area.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would train at my academy in the San Fernando Valley, and then I would drive down to Redondo Beach 3 days a week to go train with a bunch of other guys. Now,
oh man,
keeping that in mind, back in the day, it was a no-no to go to other academies.
Oh yeah, that was huge back then, man. No way. Yeah.
You could be blackballed.
Yes.
From your academy. So I started training at Hegan's old place, but it was now owned by a gentleman by the name of Ricardo Arrivabene.
Mm.
Um, he was associated with, I believe, Alliance at the time,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Alliance is a huge, huge team.
Oh yeah, they're massive.
And so when I started training down there, I started training with like world champions, guys that were huge in the scene. Isaac Dotterline.
Oh,
I mean, I could go on and on. Aaron Hurl,
man.
Gianni Grippo.
Oh,
Um,
man.
I mean, just Cobrinha.
Just some names. Holy cow.
Yeah. I mean, all the guys that were, 10 years ago that were the biggest people in jiu-jitsu, and a lot of those guys came from Alliance. I was training with all these world champions at, 37 years old. I was already, back in the day, you were already considered old.
Oh yeah, back then you the old guy on the mat, right?
Yes, the old guy. So I was training with nothing but young monsters.
Yeah.
And it really developed my game. So by the time I got my blue belt, my game had just really gone through the roof. And I kind of started outgrowing the other academy I was at.
Okay.
And people started noticing when I would be training there twice a week that I was using all these new moves and doing all these things. Because when you have an instructor that teaches you, they usually teach you what they know and what works for them. Right?
For their body style, for whatever it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
And not every instructor can work for that student. Do you
Gotcha.
understand? And
I know
especially
exactly
back
what you're saying.
and especially back in the day, there was such a language barrier. Like my first instructor, he was Brazilian, so his first language was Portuguese.
Right.
So when he would speak, it was very heavy accent, and you had to fill in a lot of the holes.
Yeah.
And also back then it was like, the way they showed techniques is like, okay, I'm going to show you an armbar, and then the next technique had nothing to do with the previous.
Oh man, you're like, what?
Right?
No
So I mean,
chains.
it was and that's why I think the learning curve was so different than it is now.
Yeah.
Right? So I'll try to speed this one up. So
No,
as
man,
I was
take your
going,
time,
as
man. Take your time.
as
We
I
want to hear
was
it all.
going out to Redondo Beach and training with all these guys, and I'd come back, and everybody's seeing what I'm doing. A couple of my really good friends that I had started training with were like, "Hey, can we go with you?"
Mm.
And I was like, "Yeah, let's go." I didn't really think anything about it because I didn't know the whole
Right. You didn't know the rules. Yeah.
I didn't know the whole Creon trader thing, So
Yeah.
I had taken them with me down to Redondo Beach, and they were just like, wow, like, look at all these guys on the mat, look at all these champions. So they started going with me, and then the owner of the gym, the guy from the Guardian Angels, he started to get a little weird.
Yeah.
Right. And at the time, because I have I have other black belts.
Right.
I started teaching the kids class there, and it just started to get weird. Right.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't really want you going out there and taking the guys from here, because it's almost like he thought that I was trying to take students away from the gym, but we were all still going to all the classes, right, that were offered. It's not like we were skipping classes and going somewhere else.
You're just opening your horizon a little bit more.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I was also teaching the kids class there.
Yeah.
So he just basically got to the point where it's like, he got irritated that I took two of the students with me, which happened to be my friends, and he's like, you can't do that. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't do that? It's like,
right,
I pay you for service to learn martial arts. I teach kids. I'm here for all the scheduled classes. I'm doing this on my own time.
Right.
And he's basically like, well, I talked to so-and-so and you just can't train her anymore. So I was like,
Wow.
what?
Wow.
Here this is 7 years later.
And you've been loyal this whole time.
Been loyal this whole time, right?
Wow.
So I was just kind of like in a daze after, because, as jiu-jitsu guys, some of us do it as a hobby. Some
Mm-hmm.
of us do it to maybe fight some demons. Some of us do
Yep.
it to keep in shape.
Yep.
Some of us do it to find a surrogate family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And especially for me, like I told you, my mom died of brain cancer. My father, when I was very young, took his own life.
Oh, wow, man.
So I was very much, I have a younger brother, but we don't really talk that much. So I've really been a lone wolf my whole life. Right.
Right.
So for me, family was a huge thing, huge. And when I had found this academy and that became my family.
Yeah, absolutely.
All these people were my brothers. And so I was very distraught about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I just, because this went on for a while. So I just decided that I was going to leave.
Yeah.
And so I started training full time in Redondo Beach. And that actually made my game go through the roof.
And they didn't have any problem with you coming out there then after that?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Cool.
Not at all. And the funny thing about this story, when I started going to Redondo Beach, the invite I got to go out there was from a childhood friend that I grew up with, and we kind of ran amok together.
Okay,
right?
Gotcha.
And we lost contact. Years later, we saw each other at a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Oh man.
Right?
That's
He was
awesome.
he was a white belt, I was a white belt.
Yeah.
So we rekindled that, relationship. And he started inviting me down to Redondo Beach, because that's where he trained and that's where he was from. So, I started training out there full time, and then I really started to enjoy teaching.
Yeah.
So I had just gotten my purple belt, and at the other school, I wasn't teaching jiu-jitsu. I was teaching like what they call MMA now, but back in the day we called it freestyle martial arts.
Freestyle martial arts. Yep.
Yep.
Open. Yep.
Not a lot of people know that, especially the newer generation. You say that and they're like, huh?
What, you guys are dancing? Freestyling?
So
yeah.
I was teaching the kids that. And then when I got my purple belt, I started getting that urge to want to teach again.
Yeah.
But I wanted to teach jiu-jitsu. And back in the day, again, like seeing a black belt or a brown belt was like seeing a unicorn.
Oh yeah. Ooh, who's that monster? Who's that guy?
Right.
Yeah.
Because there was only a handful of practitioners that actually had their black belt 15 years ago.
Wow.
Right? That the game has exploded just in the last 7 years. I mean, it's
huge.
It's crazy, right?
Yes. It's reaching the levels of taekwondo, as I call it, out there, because those schools are everywhere, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu is right along with them. I'm like, holy cow.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So as a purple belt, I decided I wanted to start teaching. So I was still going out to Redondo Beach, but I still resided in the San Fernando Valley. So I had met a gentleman that owned a boxing gym not too far from my house, and they also taught Muay Thai.
Okay, yeah, Muay Thai. Yeah.
And he had an extra room there with some mats, because he had people that would go in there every once in a while and just kind of roll around, but there was nobody teaching there or anything like that. So we talked, and he's like, "Hey, you want to start a program here?" I was like, "Yeah, 100%. You know, here I am, a
Right.
purple belt. Yeah, I could start teaching. This is awesome." And inside of a Muay Thai and a boxing gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I started teaching as a purple belt, and
Wow.
my first two students were actually the students I started taking out to Redondo Beach.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
so they followed me when I left that school,
Yeah.
right? And we were the best of friends for many, many years up until about the pandemic, because that's when I left SoCal and I moved to Bakersfield.
Yeah. I
But
get it. I get it.
that's another story.
Gotcha.
Um, so I taught for a while, but I got to that point where it was just like, this is not going to take me where I need to go.
Okay. How long were you
Because
teaching?
I taught for about a year,
Okay.
and I realized, because I was still a fresh purple belt, I
Yeah.
realized that I was still lacking knowledge,
Yeah.
and a lot
Gotcha.
of it. Because to me, when I got to purple, I realized when I was later into my life that I was just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, literally just scratching the surface. Um, so, God, I've just been surrounded by so many great people. So
That's
when I was
awesome.
training
I
at my
love it.
first academy that I left, um, I was not too fond of police officers.
Okay. Okay.
Just because of the interactions I had
Yeah.
as a young man,
Yeah. I
right?
get it. I get it.
So when I came to my first academy, this gentleman, Stephen Kirkman from the Guardian Angels, there was a gentleman there that taught judo.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Love judo.
And he was actually a student when he was a kid of Stephen Kirkman, the gentleman that owned this place. So he came back to his original instructor to teach judo,
Okay.
something he had learned from a different man, but he wanted to bring back the art that was taught to him from somebody else to the gentleman that started him in his martial arts, right?
Right. Right.
Um, so this guy, his name's Professor Tabron Lee. He is a 23-year LAPD veteran. He runs the PAL program in Hollywood. I don't know if you're familiar with PAL. That's the Police
No.
Activities League.
No, I'm not familiar with that one at all.
Okay, so in
No.
California, they have this thing called PAL, and it's run by police officers, and they donate their off time to helping inner city kids.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Yeah.
they offer them martial arts at like a teen center, like a community center, right?
Right.
And the police officers mentor these kids and try to get them in the right direction and all that. So he's just an amazing gentleman. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's been a huge part of my my development of everything in my life. Really, he's had a very big part
Yeah.
of everything in my life, and I owe a lot to this man. So when we first met, I'm covered in tattoos
Yeah.
and bald head. So
He was like, "Look at the skinhead coming over here."
well, in SoCal, you look like a gang member if you
Yeah.
look that way,
Exactly.
right?
Oh yeah.
And that's a big reason why I didn't like police, because I was getting profiled all the time. Even as I was driving down the street, cops
Yeah.
would do that whole rubberneck
Yep.
bust you. Next thing you know, I'm out of the car.
Yep. Yep.
And
They could do that back then. Yes,
yep,
sir.
yep. So there was just something about this man, and I found out he was a police officer, and I was a little standoffish at first, but he really kind of gravitated towards me, and I started telling him that I just didn't like cops. They made me nervous,
Yeah.
right? Because I'd been in jail a couple times, and I was like, they make me nervous, even when I
Yeah.
see him. And
Exactly.
he goes, he goes, so I guess you've been pulled over since you've been to jail before. And I was like, yeah, of course. He goes, let me see your driver's license. Like a typical cop.
Uh-huh. You're like, damn it. Damn it,
So,
really?
so I pull out my driver's license, right? And I hand it to him and he looks at it and he goes, I'm going to tell you your first problem, your picture right here. He goes, you look like a convict. He goes, do me a favor, go to the DMV, take another picture and smile.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
I was like, what?
Just for a picture?
Yeah, he goes, that will change everything. So when the officer takes your ID and he sees that, he'll have a different mentality. You
Psychological.
understand what I'm saying? It was just like that little simple thing.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, man, I just was like, wow.
Okay.
And we just became really good friends. And when I say this gentleman has met everybody under the moon when it comes to martial arts, he knows everybody. Like,
wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's been to every academy in SoCal. He has been to Brazil. I think he's just got back. This is his 8th time. He's finishing up his documentary. He is every time he's gone out there, he's been collecting more information and more stories from the original guys. Some of the guys that are red belts now.
Wow, some of those guys you don't even hear of probably either.
Yes, yes. So he's immersed into the culture and the jiu-jitsu lifestyle. I mean, to the fullest.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Holy cow.
So I'm very blessed to have this gentleman in my life.
Yeah.
So again, back to the whole purple belt thing, I was thriving for just more knowledge. So he contacted me and he's like, hey, I'm at a new academy. I'm running the judo program there. They have a great jiu-jitsu program, right? It was an actual MMA academy.
Yeah.
And this was 2000 and sometimes, man, my dates are so messed up.
I get it, man. I get it.
Especially as you get older.
Exactly, man. Fish oil.
2010 is when I changed academies.
Okay.
And I started training with my buddy that was a cop. So the first night I went in there, the guys that owned the school were 2 younger gentlemen. They're in their 20s. One was a UCLA graduate, and the other one was some other graduate from some school. They were both schoolboys, but they loved jiu-jitsu. So they opened their own academy in a place called Montrose, which is a little community in Pasadena.
Okay.
Or Glendale, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So the first night I walked in there, I was talking to the owner, which he was a brown belt, and they were teaching a technique to the class. And then, the class started doing the technique and we started talking a little bit. And I said, hey, I have a little bit of a different aspect for this technique. And he goes, do you want to show it? And I was like, yeah, dude, here I am, a purple belt. And, there's a bunch of upper belts in there and he's a brown. And my instructor, my judo instructor is there. He's, very decorated.
Yeah.
And I was able to teach a technique from Knee on Belly. And the whole class loved it. The instructor loved it. And I immediately knew that was going to be my.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I was, like I said, I was, teaching as a purple belt, but I just felt like I needed a family again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You need that team.
That was very important to me, for one, to keep my sobriety.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that blossomed into a 10-year relationship and I ended up getting my black belt there. And
Wow.
I received my black belt from because we were under a completely different uh, lineage. They were
Yep.
under Master Julio Cesar Pereira
Yep.
from GF Team.
Yep.
Familiar?
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I got my black belt from Master Julio
Wow.
in 2017.
Holy cow.
That was the biggest thing in my life.
That's a legit black belt, brother.
And he was a coral belt at the
Yeah.
time. And I was surrounded by many good people that night.
Wow.
And so, like I said, I've just been very fortunate in my journey and my path to have met the people I have, trained under the people I have.
Man, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah.
Man,
So
that is
that's
awesome.
another. Do you have any other things that you want to? I kind of know that I went.
Man,
Because
all of it, man.
there's just so much in my life that has happened in my jiu-jitsu journey, right? That's
But that's what jujitsu is about. That's what the martial arts community is. If you're in there, it's always evolving. It's always evolving to something new. And just
yeah,
listening to your story, my gosh, man, and look not where you ended up, but look where you're going. That's
yeah,
amazing, man. So
yeah.
you're part of Team Alliance right now, right?
I am. So,
Yeah.
this is a crazy thing. I was part of GF Team for 10 years,
Yeah.
right? And they're a different lineage. They're not even under the Gracies. They were under a gentleman by the name of Fada, which is
Completely different. Yeah.
Fada Jiu-Jitsu, right?
Completely
So,
different.
and there was that big, man, they did not like each other.
Which I think is crazy, but I get it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there's a
Yeah.
lot of animosity between the non-Gracies and GF Team, and there were only two teams under the non-Gracie lineage, which was GF Team and Nova Uniao.
No, yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know, but Bruno Malfacini actually went from white to brown under Master Julio.
Oh, really?
Yes, and then he ended up at Alliance, like we all know.
Whoa, wow. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and here's another thing. When I was training with GF Team, I was training with Gutenberg.
Oh, wow.
I was training with all the world champions.
Man.
Rodolfo Vieira.
Holy cow. How
Yeah.
do you still have
So,
joints? You know what
bro,
I mean? And beat up.
that's another. I could go on 2 days about that one.
Right, man.
So, yeah. So now I'm under Alliance, and
Yeah.
the way that happened is in 2020 when the pandemic happened. Our academy closed.
Ah, that sucks, man.
We were deemed non-essential, like
Yep.
a lot of people were, and we happened to be in an area where it just was not possible to even keep the doors open.
Yeah. That's sad.
So
Yep. Yep.
the academy went down very, very quickly. We tried doing the Zoom classes,
Mm-hmm.
lasted for a little bit, and
Yeah.
then they said, "Oh, okay, we're going to reopen, but you got to do the whole social distancing thing." So
And
we
grappling.
did that at our academy. We laid down tape. Everybody had their own little box to be in.
Wow.
Right? It was crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Holy cow.
And it just didn't work out. And the two gentlemen that owned the academy were just drowning,
Yeah.
because it was a lot of money for them to keep it open.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So they closed it. And at that time, that was basically my life.
Wow.
Teaching, doing privates. And then I had a job that I would do during the day, and then I would spend 4 to 5 hours in the gym every night. I was there 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, depending on how I felt.
Man.
And I'm already in my mid 40s, and so I had to make a big decision on what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Staying in SoCal was just not a something I could do. I couldn't afford it. I
Yeah.
was literally drowning myself,
Yeah.
because nobody could work.
Yep.
The job I had, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And I had just met a woman that resided in Bakersfield. And that's a whole nother story in itself as well.
He said, I'll follow her.
So she extended an olive branch to me, and I took it and I came out to Bakersfield.
Wow.
Now, did I ever think I would end up in Bakersfield, California? Absolutely.
Really? Wasn't even on your
all, there,
radar
all there is
anyway.
all there is out here is oil fields and agriculture.
Oh man. So nope.
Yeah, it's still a very small town, but
Yeah.
becoming bigger.
That's
Um,
cool.
so I came out here knowing absolutely nobody.
Oh man.
So now I just became that small fish again,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which was very humbling.
Oh yeah.
And so I came out here, and I actually did know one person because I used to referee with him at one of the biggest kids tournaments in the U.S., which is called the Dream Tournament.
Okay. Okay.
And I was one of the refs, and he was the head ref. And he happened to reside in Bakersfield. So when I came out here, everything was a little more relaxed out here during the pandemic
Okay.
because the town is very conservative.
Right.
So he's like, my academy's not open right now. He goes, we're training in the garage, because even they were still like, nobody had an academy open, really.
Yeah.
But it was still a little bit more relaxed out here than it was in SoCal. And
Yeah.
so he goes, I'm going to be opening up in a couple weeks. He goes, I'll give you a ring. And I was like, oh my God, awesome. I'm going to be able to train again.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't trained when the pandemic, it was like 2 or 3 months. And as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, 2 or 3 months is like
A
an
lifetime
eternity,
almost.
right?
Right? Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, and especially being a black belt already,
Yeah.
So I started. He got in touch with me. His academy opened back up. But it was on the down low,
Gotcha.
and it was a huge facility. I walk in there the first day. And I'm not even kidding you. There was probably 150 people on the mat.
Wow. Holy goodness. Wow.
Yeah, because everybody had been locked down.
And they're like, we're
right?
back. Let's go.
Yeah, they were like, let's do this, right?
Wow.
So I started training there, and that lasted about 2 months. And so so when I got out here, I was doing Uber, because that's the way I could make money, because I still wasn't sure what I was going to do with my life. And here I am, 50 years old. I literally lost everything to the pandemic and came out here on a whim.
And start all over. Wow.
Yeah, because I had met a woman, right?
Yeah.
And we're together to this day. She has been a blessing in my life.
That's awesome, man.
I really can't say she's helped me tremendously in my life, and I am where I am right now because of her.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
I am very grateful for her. So as I was training there, I was doing Uber, right, during the day. So it was a great way for me to network with people.
Right.
So I had a ride, and I picked up a young gentleman. I think he was about 17 or 16. And when he walked out of his house to get into my car, I could instantly tell that he was a wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
I could tell he was a wrestler. You can always tell by the way they walk, the way they hold themselves.
That's right. Got the little hunch. Oh yeah.
And he gets in the car, and he gets in the back seat, and I have cauliflower here.
Yeah.
And he looks at me, goes, "Hey," he goes, "You wrestle?" And I look at him, and I go, "Yeah, something like that." And so we start talking, and it's like, yeah, I do jujitsu and black belt. And he's like, oh, really? That's, cool. And so he's all, hey, do you mind if we make another stop? He goes, I need to go pick up my coach.
Okay.
So we made another stop, and he goes and picks up his MMA coach. So this guy gets in the car, and he's in his early 20s. And I knew immediately after looking at this kid, MMA fighter, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he gets in the car, and then we all just start, talking and hit it off. And he's like, do you have a card or, a number? And so I gave him my number. And that next day, the owner of the academy that they trained at called me.
Wow. The next day. Holy cow.
The next day. And he's like, hey, you want to run a jiu-jitsu program? I was through the roof. Like, I was so excited because I was like, oh my God, here I am in a completely different part of California. I knew nobody.
Right.
Right. And here I am being offered to teach.
Wow.
And offered to teach MMA fighters, which was also great.
Yeah.
So I got invited to the gym, right? I pull up to the gym, and it's this warehouse, dingy, right?
Yeah. Old school like.
Oh man, I walk through the front door, and it's just grimy. Stinks like a gym, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
All the
people are
bags
working
have
out.
tape on it. All the
Yeah.
pads have tape. I mean, it's just ragtag.
Oh yeah.
Right? So I'm like, okay, it is what it is. And so I started teaching there. And then he had a kids program there, but they were just teaching them wrestling.
Mhm.
It's huge out here. This is a Division I town. Cal State Bakersfield is one of the best colleges for wrestling in the nation.
Really?
Oh,
Holy cow.
guys like Tito Ortiz.
Oh, that's where he came. Holy cow. Yeah.
Oh, back in the day, when the UFC first started, that's where all the UFC guys were coming. They were coming to Cal State Bakersfield to wrestle.
Wow.
Because these were all Division I wrestlers.
Yeah. Monsters. Oof.
Yes.
Wow.
So wrestling is a big thing out here. Most of the kids have done it. So I started teaching the kids class and started teaching them jiu-jitsu. And felt great again.
Yeah.
And taught there for about a year, and me and the owner had a falling out.
Dang it.
He was very young man.
Yeah.
And he was still I don't know how to put it, but he just wasn't very serious about his business.
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
He just didn't have that business sense.
Yeah.
And there were some things going on in the gym that I just couldn't be a part of, so I had to remove myself.
Sometimes that's the smartest thing you can do.
Yeah, and for my mental health and my sobriety and all these things, it's very important.
Yeah.
So I left the gym, and I'm like, oh my God, here I am again. No school, nobody to train with.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm starting to get a little discouraged. Like, is this going to be it for me? I'm not going to do. I mean, I've put in 16, 17 years into this art already, right?
Yeah.
Before the pandemic. And I just started getting, just like, this might be it for me. And it's just, I might not have anybody to train with, because out here where I live, the community is very strange. It's not like the rest of the jiu-jitsu community where everybody kind of now trains with each other. Everybody cross-trains. That's a thing now, right?
Yeah, that's what everyone does now, yeah.
Yeah, it's no big deal. There's no more of that creonch thing and, all that garbage.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, here where I live is still that old school mentality. So nobody really cross-trains.
Wow.
So it's very hard just to go pop into other people's gyms.
Ugh.
So About a week later, after I left that gym, I get another call.
Oh, man.
Word spreads fast through this town like wildfire.
Wow.
And people had known that I was under GF right?
Yeah.
The word was already out here.
Yeah.
And so I got approached by another gentleman that had a Muay Thai academy out here. And he was a purple belt Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
And he's like, "Hey, you want to start a program?"
Yeah, let's go.
I was very, very leery about
Yeah.
doing it because the experiences I already had out here were horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this one more try.
Yeah.
And I started teaching at a school. And in the beginning, everything was great. I developed my own jiu-jitsu, which became White Wolves.
Okay.
Because as every black belt, you're under your affiliate. And then as you start to go down your journey, then a lot of black belts will name their jiu-jitsu their own.
Yeah, I
right?
get it. Yep.
Like Cobrinha, he's part of Alliance, right?
Yep.
So I actually, me and my wife came up with the White Wolves.
Oh, nice.
And it just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
And did the whole logo thing and developed my logo from a thing, and I became White Wolves Jiu-Jitsu. But as in Jiu-Jitsu, we always want to be big, part of something that's bigger than us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And as a black belt, you always have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Because that's how you keep yourself humble. Right.
Yep.
Keep your ego in check.
Right.
So I was GF team. Master Julio blessed me to have an affiliate there. So I was a GF team affiliate with my White Wolves, and everything was great. Started competing. My students were doing great.
Nice.
And it just kind of fell into the same thing again, like it did with the last kid. The owner just was not. He was just not. We weren't on the same page.
Yeah.
And I had to leave once again.
Man.
But this time I had a good amount of students. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? So a lot of the students stayed at that academy just rolling around, and there wasn't an instructor there for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But 3 of my students which happened to be a father and then his 2 children, a brother and a sister. Okay. And I had been training these 2 kids since I first got here, the first academy, right?
Right.
And they stuck with me through the whole thing. And so I started going to their home and giving them privates twice a week.
Okay.
Kept me in the game.
Yeah.
And that was good enough for me at that point, because these 3 happened to support me from the very beginning when I got out here. Yeah. So I felt this strong loyalty to them as a family. And they're just these 2 siblings are amazing jiu-jitsu practitioners, amazing wrestlers. I mean, they've been doing it 3 years now, and they're highly decorated now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And so once again, I had been training them for a little bit, and they were at a tournament with their dad, and it was local here. They ran into another gentleman out here by the name of Professor Albert Aguirre. Okay. Now, Professor Albert Aguirre is my professor now.
Oh, okay.
Because once I had left this last academy, my 2 students met this gentleman, Albert, and he started to talk to them and say, "Hey, why don't you guys come into the gym, see what you think, and have your professor come with you,
Okay.
right? So I happened to go and meet with him first. And that's the Pinnacle Fight and Fitness, where I am at now.
Wow. Wow.
So this has been a crazy journey for me the last 4.5 years now, almost.
Oh, since
I've just,
the pandemic was over, man.
yeah, I've just
Yeah.
been bounced back back and forth so much.
But you know what? You got to find where your home is. You know what I mean? You try
Ab-
some
ab-
things. I mean, that's what it's about, man.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I met with this gentleman, and the jiu-jitsu community in California is very small.
Oh, is it really in California?
Yeah, even though it's huge, it's still everybody knows each other, especially the people that started 20 odd years ago.
Right. Okay.
If you started 15, 20 years ago, everybody knows everybody.
You gotcha. Gotcha.
Okay. And then a lot of those people moved from California to other states, and then that's when jiu-jitsu really blew up.
Right.
Because it used to be just basically almost a California thing.
That was it. Cali
That
was
was
it.
it. If you
Yep.
wanted to train back in the day, you had to come to California
Oh yeah.
and to SoCal.
Wow.
So the gentleman, Professor Albert, he's been doing this for 20 years too. So I knew of this gentleman when I was a white belt because I've always been big in the circuit. I've always liked to compete since white to black.
Yeah.
And he was the same way. So, all we ran in the same circles, but we never actually met each other. But we
Okay.
knew who each other were.
Gotcha.
So I walked into this gym and he's like, "Oh, hey, I know you, And we hit it off. And he's like, "I just started a program at this MMA school." He goes, "I would love for you to be the co-professor with me."
Wow.
I was floored. Like,
Yeah.
wow. Like, okay, let's do this. Let's try this out. So I became a part of the Pinnacle Fight and Fitness, and our team for Jiu-Jitsu was Alliance.
Yeah.
My professor, Albert, his Jiu-Jitsu is called Piranha Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh wow. I like that. I don't think I've heard that,
Right?
but
And
that's
it's
pretty good, man.
based off the old movie Piranha.
Yeah.
Right? Like all his gear is based off of like the whole movie Piranha
Oh
thing.
man, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So his professor is under Alliance, which is Professor Elias Gallegos from the Gallegos Association.
Wow.
The Gallegos Association is down in San Diego and huge. But yet again, Professor Gallegos, you always want to be part of something bigger than you.
Right. Right.
Which is Alliance. So
Yeah.
that's encompasses Gallegos, Piranha, right? Everything.
Right. Everything, man. Lions is
Yeah.
massive, man. It is a
Yeah,
massive school,
massive.
man.
So
Big
I
team.
became part of a really big thing, which was great for me because coming from GF team, I needed that again in my life. And
Yeah.
just all that camaraderie and just yeah. So that's how I ended up now with Alliance,
Wow.
which is crazy because it just went in like this huge. When I first started going out to Redondo Beach, all those guys were from Alliance.
Right, and now it just made full turn. Now
It made a full circle. Like it's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. And I think about it sometimes, and it blows my mind.
Oh yeah, but the thing was that got you there was, I think, you're always searching.
Yes.
Always searching. Never
Yeah.
never settling in. You just I'm good here. I'm cool. I'm gonna do nothing. You just kept
Yep.
circling, man. That's pretty
Yep.
cool, man.
And jiu-jitsu is just once you really start to learn the art, you learn that it is just one big circle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a huge, huge
Every
factor.
movement you do in jiu-jitsu is one huge circle.
Man, that's awesome, man. Well, let me ask you this, because you've been around from the young days to, I won't call old days, I call experience days now, right? To this level, what's the what would you suggest for somebody coming in who hasn't had that kind of experience from freshly an old guy saying, I've been on the couch, I've been watching UFC all this time, I want to try this. What would you suggest that guy do?
I would suggest for that guy just to do it. Get up
Just do
off
it.
the couch, go into that gym, and try it out. I mean, this is essential for you to progress in your life.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
finding things that challenge you, especially as we get older. When you start just sitting on the couch, for me, that's when you start to die.
Oh yeah. Absolutely, man.
Especially as the older we
Oh
get,
yeah.
you
Oh
can't
yeah.
be doing that. And jiu-jitsu is the perfect tool to keep your brain firing.
Wow, I like that.
Because as we
Uh,
get older, our memory goes.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
struggle for words sometimes.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
This is all very real stuff.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu helps you with that. So I will say this to anybody out there that is thinking about it. Don't think about it. Just get out there and jump on that mat because it might change your life.
Wow, man. But that's true though, man. That is jujitsu. When I heard of jujitsu, I'm gonna say when I heard of jujitsu, when my experience with jujitsu, I didn't like it because of the people that I saw that I experienced. And then as I got into it more, I found a great family out there at Lake County Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And it's just like your mindset. It's changed everything in my life. Man,
Right.
it's a huge plus, man. Once you find your home, you're home. You
That's
know
it.
it, man. You
That's
know
it.
it, brother.
That's it. And especially, if you're any kind of person that, doesn't have family like
Yeah.
me, that jujitsu consumed me. It became my lifestyle. I live, eat, and breathe jujitsu. I mean, I'm going to be 55 years old, man. And I train as much as I can. Pre-pandemic, I was training 6 to 7 days a week, 4 to 5 hours a day at 50 years old.
Man. Man. You
So,
you training for another tournament, you're gonna create
oh,
some
bro,
monsters, man. That's awesome.
last night I was training and my professor's like, well, you got a month. We got to get you ready. So last night I had to do, we had our 40 minutes of rolling. And then
Yeah.
my last two rounds were 10-minute rounds. Because
Woo!
my fight's going to be, as older guys, usually it's a 5-minute match,
Yeah. Yeah.
but this one's going to be 10-minute sub only.
Oh. Oh man.
And
Wow.
also the kid because I call him a kid, he's 44, so he's 10 years my junior.
And they know about 10 years can make a huge difference though, too, man.
10 years and 15 pounds because I'm coming in about 141 and he's coming in about 154.
Oh man. But you know what? With your mindset, brother, you own it. You own it,
Oh
man.
yeah, I'm
You own
all
it.
good, man. I love the legs, brother. I'm gonna be
Oh, you one
jumping
of them
all over
guys I
those
hate.
legs.
As soon as I roll with guys, they grab my legs. I'm like, you know what? We're just training. I'm tapping.
That's
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 awesome.
that's my secret weapon, man. With these young kids,
Man, you grab them legs and put them
that,
out.
that's it. That's it.
That's awesome. Well, how did you come across starting the Facebook group? Because your Facebook group is huge,
Oh
like
man,
30,000 or plus or something like
yeah.
that.
So that's a crazy story in itself.
Yeah.
So when I was at my school with GF Team, and when I was a purple belt, that's when I started it. I had the reason I started the page because you saw that video I sent you, right?
Yeah.
So when I did that video, that was basically just to try to just even help one person if they were struggling with something in their life, drug addiction, whatever it had been. That I made that video so if I could just reach one person, that was fantastic,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
And my buddy that directed that and put it all together, put it out there, and with literally in a few weeks, it had like 3,000 views on YouTube.
Wow.
Right. And I
Nice.
was here,
Nice.
and I start getting messages through my messenger on Facebook. Oh my God, I just saw your video. This saved my life. Like, I mean, I was getting messages that were just, I couldn't believe, that it was like, here I am. I am reaching people with exactly what I wanted to do with this video.
Yeah.
Right? I actually helped people and maybe saved a few people's lives just from making that video.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
So I'm like, I started seeing groups on Facebook, and I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna start a group for people that are over 40, because at that time I was 45.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, Jiu-Jitsu over 40. It just came to me. Right.
Yeah.
And so I started the page up, and then it was very slow going.
Well, usually it is in these pages.
Well, and back then, Facebook wasn't what it is today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, Jiu-Jitsu wasn't what it is today.
Exactly. Evolved. Huge.
So, I had literally around 400 to 500 members, which was huge.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And just great knowledge being passed through the page. I'm sure you've been on there before. It gets kind of great.
Yeah.
It kind of touches on everything.
And that's cool.
And to be honest, that's a full-time job in itself.
Oh wow.
My wife runs the page now because I literally don't have the time, because I have so many other things going on. So when the pandemic hit, as you know, everybody went indoors for 2 weeks.
Yep.
And what did everybody do for those 2 weeks?
Online.
Online, right?
Yep.
So I went from about 400, okay, in a matter of, to where I am now, 4 years later, 32,000 members.
Wow. Cow. And
Over.
Boom.
Now, I'm not going to say everybody in there is over 40, because some people have snuck in there.
Yep.
Right?
I get it. That's what pages do. Yep.
But I do vet for that page. I just don't go and, like, if you request to be in my group, I just don't press the accept button.
Yeah.
If your page is open, I'm going to go to your page. I'm going to look
And
around a little bit. I'm going to make sure that you're older, right?
Exactly.
Before you step into the group.
There you go. When you let me in that group a while ago, I've been in it for a while, a long while, even before I started Old Man on the Mat. And I guarantee you saw my page. You said, this is an old dude. Let me see. Let me see if we can help this old man.
Oh yeah. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, man. It just became a monster of itself. I mean, there's anywhere from 10 to 15 posts a day, and it just, it's just great. It just, there's humor in there. There's drama. You name it, it's in there.
But you know what I found out was really cool, and I think it's got to be a part of the jiu-jitsu world. When I look in your page, and I've seen some pages like yours, I never see it when I'm in there. No one's hollering they're offended by anything. I love that. There's no, I'm offended by this. Take this down. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you know what? It
cool.
does happen sometimes, because
you must get them down quick, because I don't see them.
Yeah, behind the scenes, people can report things, and then it'll come to me, and then I decide if I want to keep it up or not.
Yeah.
But Facebook also sometimes will not give you that option, and they'll just straight take it down.
Gotcha.
So there is that element to it, but for the most part, it's a very healthy page.
Yeah, everybody's cool.
It's great for those people, those older guys or older women that are sitting on the couch doing nothing.
Yep.
They get on, and that's what's happened with that page, is a lot of people that had no idea what jiu-jitsu was found that page and then found jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
I can't tell you how many people I've had private message me saying, this page helped me find jiu-jitsu.
That's good stuff, man. That is awesome.
It is, man. And just seeing the community of how many older people are doing it now and how many people are jumping into this art in their 40s, their 50s, their
Yeah.
60s.
Yeah. Just starting out too, man. Yes.
Yeah. Just starting
Yeah.
their journeys.
Yeah. But like
Yeah.
you
So
said,
I
it
don't
keeps
feel,
them healthy and alive.
yeah, I don't feel like the old guy anymore.
That's right, man. Well, I wish I could say that because every time I get off the mat, I ask myself every day, man, I'm too old for this, man. Ow. And then I go back the next day, you know?
That's right. That's right.
Man, Chris, I tell you, brother, this has been awesome, man. I know you got to run, and
Yep.
man, I am so glad you took the time to do this for us. We're going to get a number 2 when you get done with your whipping that young guy. And you
Yep.
got to come back and tell us all about it. But hey,
That would
before
be
we get
great.
you out of here, oh, it's going to be great, man. I'm telling you, you're going to have some great stories of that one. I'm going to love it. But before we get you out of here, tell everyone how they can reach you, man. Spit it all out. Want numbers, emails, everything so they can reach you, brother.
All right. So for my Facebook, Jiu-Jitsu over 40, as we all know. So you can reach me there. I also I don't my private profile for Facebook I don't give out, but for
Okay.
Jiu-Jitsu over 40, if you're over 40, come join us. And then
Awesome.
I have my Instagram, White Wolves Ground Apparel USA.
All right.
And then my other Instagram page is, man, I just have so many social media.
That's all right, brother. That's all right. Man, you got to reach everybody.
Yeah, and then I have my Christopher Pike BJJ Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And
All right.
I just started I'm about to launch my apparel company. If you go on to the White Wolves Ground Apparel USA.com, I'm having a giveaway. So if you just
Okay.
go on there and tag a couple people, you might get some free merch.
Nice. Nice, man. That's awesome, brother.
And then, like I said, I'll be competing at Arte Suave in San Luis Obispo on June 22nd.
Oh, man. And guys, if you're out there, go shake this man's hand. Man, that's awesome. Brother, I appreciate you more than you know. Wow, this has blown my mind, guys. But guys, listen up. That's been Chris Pike. Find this man, research him, look at all his stuff. Hit him up on that group. I'm telling you, Jiu-Jitsu Over 40 is an amazing group. It really is. And make sure you go out there and check out his apparel companies that's coming on and watch this guy compete. You go see his name everywhere. More, right?
That's right.
Hey, brother, I appreciate you, man. Like I said, we got to do number 2 soon. But
yes, Tony, I would appreciate that, sir.
Hey, not a problem, brother. But we'll talk soon. You take care of yourself out there, and we will definitely do this again.
All right, brother. You have a good one.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Oh, man.